For years, most people laughed it off, a headline, a meme, a late-night joke. The United States wants to buy Greenland. It sounded absurd, too blunt, too crude, too Trump. But here's the truth no one wants to confront. This was never a joke, and it was never about personality. It was a signal. A signal that the most powerful country on Earth has reached a point where polite diplomacy is no longer enough. Because Greenland is not a frozen wasteland. Greenland is the high ground of the 21st century. And right now it's sitting in the hands of a country that cannot afford to defend it. This is not new. It's 150 years old. The idea of America acquiring Greenland did not start in the last decade. It started in the 1800s, the same era that gave us the Louisiana Purchase and Alaska. Remember Alaska? Seward's Folly, they called it. A frozen, useless block of ice, until oil, until shipping lanes, until military dominance. History didn't laugh last. In 1867, when the U.S. bought Alaska from Russia, it changed the balance of power in the Pacific forever. Greenland is the next Alaska, and the United States has tried to acquire it before, in 1910 and 1946. Serious offers, serious negotiations. And today, the U.S. never left. America is already there, Thule Air Base. One of the most strategically important military installations on the planet. Missile warning systems, space surveillance, Arctic command infrastructure. The U.S. does not visit Greenland. It already occupies critical ground, which raises a dangerous question. If Greenland is so important that America must be there anyway, why leave sovereignty in someone else's hands? The world changed. Denmark. Didn't Denmark is a welfare state, a peaceful, rules-based society. It was built for a world of stability, but the Arctic is no longer stable. China is coming. Russia is already there, and Denmark cannot stop either one. Greenland is technically Danish territory, but it is autonomous, and autonomy creates leverage. Because Greenland depends on Denmark for about $600 million a year in subsidies. That is not sovereignty, that is dependency. And dependency can be bought. This is where the strategy begins. The US does not need to invade Greenland. That would be reckless. It would fracture NATO. Instead, Washington plays a smarter game, a colder game. The strategy has 3 pillars, and once you see them, the entire situation becomes obvious. Pillar 1, the sovereignty trap. Greenland has only 56,000 people. That's a small town. Now imagine offering that population billions in infrastructure, massive investment, guaranteed defense, US passports, economic independence, not loans, not debt, cash. Suddenly, Denmark's $600 million subsidy looks laughable. This is not colonization. This is outbidding. If Greenland votes for independence and immediately signs a US compact of free association, Denmark is cut out. Legally, cleanly, irreversibly. That's not invasion. That's a hostile takeover via referendum. Pillar 2, China, the real catalyst. Nothing accelerated this plan faster than China. Beijing didn't send warships, they sent bankers. Chinese firms attempted to buy abandoned naval bases, finance Greenlandic airports, build infrastructure, classic belt and road playbook, debt first, influence second, control last. The Pentagon panicked, not because Denmark approved it, but because Denmark couldn't stop it. That was the moment Washington realized Greenland is vulnerable, and vulnerability invites predators. China doesn't need soldiers in Greenland. They need leverage, and the Arctic is full of leverage. Pillar 3, rare earths, the real prize. This is where everything clicks. Greenland holds one of the largest undeveloped rare earth deposits on Earth. Rare earths are not rare. They are controlled. China controls 80-90% of processing, the entire supply chain, the choke point. No rare earths means no EVs, no wind turbines, no advanced weapons, no modern tech. The green transition, dead without them. National defense, crippled. Greenland is America's way out, but only if America controls it. The Arctic is becoming a highway. Here's the part almost no one talks about. The ice is melting. That's not politics, that's physics. New shipping routes are opening, the Northwest Passage, the Northern Sea Route. They cut shipping time by up to 40%. That's a new Suez Canal. And Greenland controls the Eastern Gate. Whoever controls Greenland controls Arctic trade. Russia already knows this. That's why it's militarizing the Arctic. If the US doesn't act, the Arctic becomes contested. Or worse, dominated by rivals. So ask yourself this from Washington. As perspective, Denmark can defend Greenland. China wants to buy influence. Russia wants military control. Rare earths are existential. Shipping lanes are opening. What would you do? This is not arrogance, it's inevitability. Greenland is a distressed asset. Denmark is an overwhelmed owner. And the world's largest power is circling. The takeover has already begun, not with soldiers, with spreadsheets, By now, one thing should be clear. This is not speculation. This is not conspiracy. This is not theory. This is process. And the process is already underway. How Denmark is being quietly cornered. The most important battlefield right now is not Greenland, it's Copenhagen. Denmark is being placed in an impossible position, and it's being done deliberately. On one side, Washington is increasing pressure inside NATO, Arctic defense spending, radar coverage, icebreaker fleets, permanent troop rotations. The message is subtle but unmistakable. Defend Greenland properly, or admit you can't. But here's the problem. Denmark can't. To truly defend Greenland, Denmark would need billions in annual military spending, Arctic bases, ice-capable fleets, permanent surveillance, missile defense. That S, not a defense upgrade. That's a complete strategic overhaul. And Denmark's welfare state economy cannot absorb that cost without tearing itself apart politically. So Washington keeps raising the bar, not publicly, not aggressively, but consistently. Every NATO briefing, every Arctic security review, every classified memo. Until Denmark faces a choice, spend money it doesn't have, or let someone else take responsibility. This is how sovereignty is lost in the 21st century. Not with tanks, with spreadsheets. At the same time, Greenland is being courted directly, quietly, relentlessly. Infrastructure proposals, mining partnerships, defense cooperation, educational exchanges. Every offer framed as support, but every offer sends the same signal. You don't need Denmark anymore. And for a population of 56,000 people, that message is powerful. The independence referendum, the clean break. Here's the most likely next step. A Greenland independence referendum. Not rushed, not dramatic, carefully prepared. Years of economic modeling, promises of investment, security guarantees, and behind the scenes, American advisors, American lawyers, American defense planners. If Greenland votes yes, Denmark cannot legally stop it. And the very next move, a defense and economic pact with the United States. Bases expand, mining accelerates, shipping lanes secured. Greenland becomes American in everything but name. Why NATO won't stop. Some people assume NATO would intervene. They won't. Why? Because NATO follows power. And no European nation wants to confront Washington over an Arctic territory they can't defend themselves. Publicly, there will be concern. Privately, there will be relief. Because once the US assumes responsibility for Greenland, Europe doesn't have to. The Arctic becomes an American lake. This is the end game, with Greenland under US control or alignment. The eastern gate of the Northwest Passage is locked. Russian Arctic expansion is boxed in. Chinese polar Silk Road ambitions collapse. The Arctic shifts from contested to controlled, and control means leverage. Leverage over global shipping, energy flows, resource extraction, military projection. The same way the US dominates sea lanes today, it would dominate the Arctic tomorrow. The darker timeline, when things move fast. Everything I've discussed so far is the clean version, but there's another scenario, a faster one, a more dangerous one. What if China makes a sudden move? What if a Chinese firm attempts to acquire a strategic port? What if Russia expands military infrastructure aggressively? What if a crisis breaks out elsewhere and spills north? In that case, the US doesn't wait. There is precedent. During World War II, the United States occupied Greenland without Denmark's consent. Why? Because Denmark was occupied by Nazi Germany and could not exercise responsible sovereignty. That legal logic still exists. If Denmark is deemed incapable of defending Greenland today, Washington can justify unilateral action in the name of collective security, not an invasion, a protective occupation, and once boots are on the ground, they don't leave. Why this is about the 21st century. Not ego. This is not about presidents. It's not about headlines. It's not about bravado. It's about a world that has changed faster than old alliances can adapt. The US sees the map differently now. Supply chains are weapons. Resources are leverage. Trade routes are power. Greenland sits at the intersection of all three. Rare earths, energy, shipping, military dominance. Losing Greenland to rivals would be an unforgivable strategic failure. So Washington will not allow it. The takeaway. When? Not if. The acquisition of Greenland will not happen overnight, but it will happen. Through referendum, through economic absorption, or through security intervention. The method may change, the outcome will not. Greenland is the Alaska of this century. And just like Alaska, history will look back and say, it was obvious. The only question is who saw it coming in real time. Because in the new world that's emerging, territory matters again, resources matter again, geography matters again, and Greenland is the keystone.